out filming last year in Montana, and my whole intention was to do a segment on whitetail hunting. Well, with wildlife, you never know what you're going to get. We started off hunting the Little Powder River country for whitetail. And you're going to see us rattle up some bucks, and we got some really great footage. But you know, during that time, we stumbled onto a really decent mule deer. And Guy being raised in Jackson Hole country in Wyoming, mule deer is our passion. And you're going to see us just kind of drop whitetail hunting and go after this mule deer. So today's segment is on actually whitetail rattling a little bit, and then our hunt as Guy takes a good quality mule deer in Montana. So let's go on to the Powder River country of Montana for a mule deer hunt. We're in the Little Powder River country hunting whitetail. You know, I decided to start rattling and see if I could bring up a good whitetail, and guess what comes in? This forked horn mule deer. You know, this country does produce some gigantic whitetail, and that's why we're here. We're trying to find Guy a good trophy whitetail. But look what comes up. This little forked horn mule deer, he goes, "Where's all the action at?" He's looking around. I'm scraping that Douglas fir there, and then occasionally I'll rattle. And he couldn't figure out what's going on. He makes a big circle here, watching. Just looking, peeking. His old ears are going, his nose is going. He's trying to get downwind of me so he can smell me. Can't figure it out. This isn't quite what we're looking for when we start rattling. We're looking for a good trophy whitetail. But I tell you, whitetail are smart. Some people think they're smarter than mule deer. And you know, I gotta kind of believe it sometimes. I'll tell you one thing, they're smarter than this little forked horn mule deer, I'll tell you that. Look at him look at me. He says, "You're the ugliest whitetail I've ever seen." And then a whitetail does step out, look at us, and eases off. The next morning finds us in a spot that's about 2 miles away from where we were, where we brought in that forked horn. I got my buddy here doing the rattling, Tom Benjamin. And look what comes up. Now it looks like a little buck right here. He's 4 on a side. Now kind of watch this. As Tom rattles, he'll bring that buck right in. In fact, I'm running the camera here, and he runs in so fast, the camera autofocus can't keep up with him. Now watch this. I'll just be quiet. You just kind of watch this sequence. This is great, folks. Tom tinkles those antlers. Here he comes. What's going on here? He comes right up to us. Look at this. My camera can't keep up with him. The autofocus. He says, "What is that?" Invariably what he'll do, folks, is he'll go around and get downwind right here, smell us, and boom, off he goes.
Guy, this really works, I'm telling you. I never dreamed that he'd come charging in, running up there 15 yards from me. It was great.
Yeah, well, whitetail a lot more aggressive about it than the mule deer. They come in kind of slow and cautious, boy. That whitetail, he jumped right in here. And,
well, that's the first one I've ever rattled up like that, and I just tingled him a little bit like that and hit them together a few times. And I'll tell you what, he was right there at about 40 yards from us. He just kept closing. He charged right up there at about 15 yards. That give a person quite a thrill.
Yeah, he came right in. You gotta, when those whitetail come in, they hold, and it only takes them about 10 seconds to figure out something's wrong, and then they leave. So you gotta be pretty quick.
Yeah, he was well within bow range right there with that.
Yeah.
Well, if we get the big one,
yeah,
it's going to be really thrilling.
Let's go find a big one.
All right.
The next morning, we decided to hunt the river bottom of the Little Powder River. Getting up on a point, we can look across, and Tom and Guy spot a decent whitetail with some does. They get set up here, and Tom starts rattling. And you know that buck was probably a quarter mile away. He hears that rattling, and here he comes. Now watch this, folks. He gets closer and closer. Yeah, we see him, Tom. He's coming in. This is exciting. Watching a whitetail buck move his way into us. What he does here is he dumps down into the Little Powder River, and then he pops back up on the other side. Tom keeps rattling here. It isn't long before he bumps up on the other side of the river on our side. Here he comes. He's getting closer and closer. This is a peak of the rut for a whitetail. What he actually was doing over on the other side of the river was putting a scrape out. When he heard these antlers rattling, here he comes. This is probably 2:30 in the afternoon. But during the rut like this, a little snow on the ground, probably 10 below, those whitetail bucks are really getting after it. Listen to him listen to that rattling. It's coming closer and closer. I can't believe it. I'm standing next to a big cottonwood filming this. Too bad he isn't like a 150 whitetail. That's the class of whitetail we're looking for. But this makes for great footage here. You notice Tom uses that little meow? It's made by Quaker Boy, and boy, that buck hears that and he just keeps coming and coming. It sounds like a doe in heat. Doesn't sound very loud, but that whitetail can hear it 300-400 yards away. Now he's running. He's really getting excited now. He's only 50 yards away, folks. He hasn't dawned on him that we're right there. He's still coming. You'll see here in a minute the light go off in his head. Right there. He goes, uh-oh. That ain't no whitetail. Look at his nose working. He says, let me out of here. Boing! Now watch this, folks. He jumps 4 foot in the air. Boing! Look at that tail go. Boing! He says, that's the ugliest whitetail I've ever seen. I'm leaving. And he's gone. This is great. But he has to stop here going, and look at his ears go back. He's still listening to that rattling, but he knows that it isn't right. Goodbye, Mr. Whitetail. The next day, we find Guy hunting mule deer. He found a good quality mule deer and decided to hunt this buck rather than try to take a whitetail.
A good 170 buck.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Guy. I think you saw him earlier today too, didn't you?
Yeah, we filmed him a little bit and watched him and just were real patient, and then, you know, kind of put him to bed for the afternoon and ate lunch and came back up here and caught him. He's rutting those does.
Yeah,
We thought he'd be up here, but he kind of
you saw him earlier come up this draw.
he kind of caught us.
And we came back about 2 hours ago, and you saw him and another doe.
You know, by midday, that buck had moved his way into this canyon. He's a 170 mule deer. Guy being born and raised in Jackson Hole, when we saw a good quality mule deer like this, we decided to go mule deer hunting instead of whitetail. We eased up on this ridge, and this buck's down in this canyon with this doe. Now I want to tell you the Achilles heel of a mule deer is a rut. And that's what happens here. This buck doesn't have a clue we're around. Now the doe knows we're there, and she tries to take off and run here when she sees us. The buck, he's just right on her. He doesn't even know we're there. He has other things he's thinking about. Guy gets down in a position where he's got a dead rest. He waits here until I can call. The buck's trying to get away right here. Guy is bearing down on him. I call, and that's just enough to break his concentration for him to stop right here and look at us. That was a mistake he shouldn't have made. Oh.
Holy shoot. Good shot.
Great shot, Guy.
Go, man. Nice buck.
He's down.
Good shot.
Oh, he's down.
Way to shoot, Guy. Way to go. What a buck.
I just put it right on his heart and just squeeze it off,
That was a
boy.
great shot. He stopped, he came up, he turned to the left, looked at his doe.
Yeah, he just disappeared.
He
I heard that.
When you hit him, that buck never had a second. Way to go.
Yeah, I see him laying there.
Good job.
Let's go take a look at it.
Congratulations, Guy, on a great shot on a good trophy mule deer. And you know, the thing about it, Guy waited several hours for that buck to get in a position where we could really hunt him.
Put it right behind his shoulder here.
That's a nice buck.
That's a great buck you got yesterday, Guy.
Well, thanks. He's a real trophy, real pretty buck. He's real photogenic, heavy, dark horned. He was rutting those does, and we were lucky enough to get on him and get a shot at him.
Folks, I'd like to tell you that this buck was taken on fair chase, and remember, fair chase is the only way to hunt and take trophy big game.